Welcome again to the 4Q podcast. I'm so happy that you're here today just to go over our 4 questions about reflect, redefine, redesign, and realign, which of course, as you know, is the same formula that we use in our membership, and it's the same formula we use in our courses. Now, let's jump into today's topic, which we're reflecting on core beliefs. So first of all, we're going to talk about core beliefs and what they are and how you can sort of change them if you can, or how they affect you. So let's jump to the redefine. What is a core belief? Now, the analogy that I like to use is, if anybody's seen the movie Inside Out, the children's movie about her core memories. So her core memories are like these little globes that get stored in like an epicenter of her brain. And sometimes they can change, but generally they're always there and they really craft who her personality is. Core beliefs are the same way. They are in our system and they are there out of experiences and out of what messages we've been getting in the world, and generally from childhood. And just like in the movie, we can't necessarily change them so much, but what we can do is change how they affect our lives. So core beliefs, we have both positive and negative ones. But the ones we're going to focus on today are the negative ones, because they're the ones that sort of impact our life from being everything we want it to be. So the 3 most common negative core beliefs are: I'm unlovable, I am not worthy, I am a burden. So, you know, it's things like that that are really hard to deal with and are really struggling. So when I say not worthy, like I'm worthless. So I'm not lovable, I'm worthless, I'm a burden. Those are the top 3. And they sound really harsh. You might go, I don't have that negative core belief. But basically what we tune into is when you're not feeling so good, what thoughts are coming up for you? And if those thoughts were true, what would that say about who you are as a person? And that's a really quick way to get into what might be a core belief for you. So for example, if when you're stressed you go, I don't deserve this, like I don't deserve to have people in my life, like, I knew I would mess up, they're going to judge me for this, they're not going to be there for me after this, then if that was true, then you might think that I'm not lovable, and that's your core belief. And so why does it even matter knowing these core beliefs? Well, it matters because if we let them affect us, they're like a story that's playing, like a radio station that we keep tuning into that stops us from living our best lives. So what we need to do is recognize, okay, I can't change what's playing on the radio, that core belief, but I can change if I listen to it, if I absorb it, and how loud that story or that radio station is in my life. It's sort of saying, I'm not going to be defined by this story anymore. So let's get to the third aspect of this 4Q podcast, the redesign. So how can I redesign things so that I'm not letting this station tune in? Well, that's where you really need help from a coach or psychologist, counselor, social worker. But really, that's when there's certain practices you can do to notice when that story's popping up, to notice when that core belief's coming up, and to really challenge them. Another thing that can be really helpful is just even understanding who that core belief came from or what experience that core belief came from. So sometimes if it came from a certain person, if you slowly start to reduce how much influence that person maybe had over you, slowly but surely that radio station turns down a little bit. So there's things like that you can do. Now, it isn't an easy process. Sometimes when we realize what our core beliefs are, it can be quite an emotional thing, because you go, oh my gosh, I've been telling myself this horrible thing that keeps popping up in my life, and it's coming out. It's coming out in my relationships and in my parenting. You notice that when you have that thought, you behave differently, because anybody who's been to a psychologist or counselor probably knows about this, the cognitive behavior therapy triangle, which is basically your thoughts affect your behaviors, what you do and how you act, and those affect how you feel. And it goes around in this triangle of and then how you feel affects your thoughts, and it's kind of like this never-ending spiral. So we can't change how we feel, because that is a chemical reaction. But what we can change is our thoughts and our behaviors, because that's how you hack the emotions. So when you start seeing a counselor or a coach, you really start putting in some strategies around the thoughts and behaviors, and all of a sudden having a good mood, less stress, less anxiety, less depression is a byproduct of these activities. So let's get to the realign. How do you do this? How do you implement it? And how do you stay on track? Unfortunately, I wish I could tell you there was a magic wand, and once you find this out and once you do it once, it's all magically sorted. But honestly, it does take work with the right coach or the right therapist. That's the best way. And it also can be things like journaling and meditation, and just practices where you learn how to notice your thoughts and go, I notice that I'm having the thought that, people don't like me, or I'm an embarrassment, or I'm just a burden on people. Often what happens is we get stuck in thinking that those thoughts are us, but actually once you start putting a separation between yourselves and going, actually, that's not my thought. I am having a thought that this is happening, but I don't have to buy into that, then you realize it has far less control over you. So for anyone out there listening, that is what I would recommend. And of course, if you want to link in with us for some counseling or some coaching, we do have some spots available. So please reach out. And if I myself cannot see you, I have a bunch of people who are part of my team who have connected with me who have that same holistic approach that I do. I think having a holistic approach to someone who is helping you is so important, because there's things like sleep that affect our mood. Our eating affects our mood, our diet, our exercise. Also understanding the societal things, like there is not something broken in you. Our society is broken, and that's why so many people are feeling this. So that's why it's good to have that holistic view, because you don't want someone who makes you feel like I'm a bad person. Like it just confirms for you, oh, if I only did this differently, or if I didn't think this like that. When you have a coach who sort of puts the onus only on you and not your systems around you, it sort of makes it seem like your fault, which is definitely not the case. So good luck to you all. If you love this episode or you learned something new, please reach out and send us a message. We've been getting such good feedback and loving the emails and the messages you've been sending. I know that there's these little sort of light bulb moments that you go, oh my gosh, I had a light bulb moment in 10 minutes, but it slowly increments into your life. And then all of a sudden, weeks later, months later down the track, you're thinking completely different. I know I have that experience when I listen to podcasts and I go, wow, I never thought of something like that. And then months later, I find myself telling other people about that same thing that I learned about. So go on, share it with your networks, and start changing the people you surround yourself with. All right, have a wonderful week, and I will see you next week on the 4Q podcast. Bye for now.